Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to 1111 Downtown. It's good to see you all here this morning and to welcome you, especially if you're visiting with us for the first time. We want to welcome you. Fill out the little cards. I know a lot of us don't really like to fill those out, but every now and then I go into my assistant and she looks at the 45 cards that were filled out and she says, I guess you had a terrible turnout on the Sunday. And I said, no, there was a bunch of people there. They just don't sign their names up and stuff. So anyway, do that, fill that out, and let us have a record that you were here this morning. And if you're visiting especially, we'd love to sort of say hi to you. It's good to see people we haven't seen in a long time, too. It's nice to see you all here. Couple announcements really quick. Look on the back of your bulletin. Next week, we have our last end-of-the-year post-solstice pre-Christmas Eve celebration. And we're going to have some fun. We'll have some improv. We'll have Jakey Cabe doing some stuff with us. And then we're going to have some of your favorite sort of traditional Christmas carols, as well as some special Christmas songs, and then some stories. It'll just be a fun celebration. And our last one for the year, because we don't meet on the 29th, all the church services generally try to meet over in the sanctuary, and they do kind of a casual story-based service on Sunday the 29th at 11 a.m. in the sanctuary. So you're welcome to be a part of that. We'd love to see you there, but we won't be in here on the 29th. So, will we be here on the 29th? No. Everybody heard that? Okay, good. But we will be back here on the 5th. So we'll be back in at 512 on January 5th, and look forward to seeing you there in the new year. Then also, let's see. Oh, I think that is there anything else? Yeah, we want to make sure that you all are keeping up on the. If you've got any, how do I say this? We need you to keep up on your pledges. If you haven't paid up your pledges, we need that. We always have this year-end sort of push for the church-wide budget. And it always happens where we look up and we see that we're hundreds of thousands of dollars short of our budget, like at the last week of December, and then it all comes pouring in. So we sort of live by this sense of we're never sure if we're going to survive or not, but we've survived every year, and so we figure we'll do it again. But I always like to just remind you, year end, this is always a good time to remember that. Okay. We have a couple in our church that we haven't seen in a long time. She has been very ill. Pat and Shelby Adams. A lot of you know Pat and Shelby Adams. They're not here today, but because they've been active in this church for years and years and years, and active with many of our small groups and in leadership, and she's just been ill that they couldn't be here and haven't been able to be here, and they're missing all this fun stuff, especially today. So we're just going to look at one of these which camera's on? Which camera? Can we look at this one back here? All right, we'll all look back at this camera, and we'll all just say, hi, Pat and Shelby. Hope you're better soon, and look forward to seeing you, Pat. Okay, I hope they're watching. Wouldn't that be awesome? Okay, so it's good to see you all here this morning. We're going to start our celebration. Oh, wait, and before we even begin, let's say hi to Peter Mayer. It almost wouldn't be Christmas without Peter coming and joining us for a Sunday, so we're glad to have him down from the north here. All right, let's begin with our welcome candle.
Good morning and welcome. Good morning. Join me. Come,
whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again.
The word kitschy means garish or gaudy and not in very good taste. But that's in some ways what the way we like to decorate during Christmas. And so this song is inspired by that idea. It's called Merry Kitschy Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Kitschy Christmas, sing a sappy song, spill your mismatched colors out upon the lawn. Find your Christmas manger with a blinking star. Unpack your plastic Santa and your foolish heart. Merry Kitschy Christmas, do a tacky dance, wear your reindeer sweater while you have the chance. It's a kitschy season, take it from the shelf, give yourself a reason just to be yourself. With all your faults and failings, all your old regrets, drape them on the railings, dress them up in red along with all you cherish. Hang them side by side, they are all beautiful at Christmas time. With all your faults and failings, all your old regrets, drape them on the railing, dress them up in red along with all you cherish, hang them side by side, they are all beautiful at Christmas time. Merry Kitschy Christmas, jingle while you can, get the blower going for your inflatable snowman, and love with no conditions, love with all you've got, till your gaudy heart glistens, fa-la-la, la.
So I hope you have a kitschy Christmas around your neighborhood somewhere. I find some inspiration in that. So let's have a word of prayer together. Holy One, we come together with all of our failings and our shortcomings, with all of our regrets and all of our second thoughts. We come with our celebrations. We come together here, bound together by this openness, this gaudiness of grace that matches whatever disabilities, whatever diseases, whatever disses we bring to the moment. Grace is, we live in the midst of this pool of grace and this pool of community and connection. And so we give thanks for that. We celebrate that this morning, and we're glad to be here with one another. and to have special music to lift us. Bless us in our time together. We pray in the name of, in the one in whom we live, and move and have all of our being. Amen. So listen, before you get started on this, Brad, I'm going to make this introduction for you. We're about to sing an offering song. You'll notice it's not in your bulletin. You'll notice there's only one screen. Good luck. I'm not sure if you can see it in the back, but y'all will know some of the words. But here's your screen, and so you guys are going to have to turn around. And as you're singing, bring your offering, bring your registration cards up here, and have a good time. Let's sing.
And please stand as well. Here it comes, let's go. I got a rescue married gentleman, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born upon this day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Tidings of comfort and joy. That's right. Verse 2. From God our heavenly Father, this blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same. How that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Tidings of comfort and joy. All right. Oh, star.
Glorious now, behold him arise, King and God and sacrifice. Hallelujah, hallelujah, worshiping God most high.
All right.
Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
Yeah. All right. Steam-berry gentleman, let nothing you dismay. Got a steam-berry gentleman, let nothing you dismay. Got a steam-berry gentleman, let nothing you dismay. Got a steam-berry gentleman, let nothing you dismay. Nice work, everybody, yeah. This is the moment you take a second and offer one another a sign of peace. Or 3 or 4 seconds, whatever you like.
Bethlehem, a manger waits, long ago and so today, where hatred-weary people pray, love will come and lay there. And so do countless stables stand, in hearts as harsh as desert lands, rough shelters in the wind and sand, that love may come and stay there. Love that opens fists of hate, heaps up gold on beggars' plates. Love that shows a kindly face to enemies and strangers. And the walls of stables tremble so when the winds of fear and judgment blow. For a stable hopes in love alone, and knows that love's the answer. Love, the prophet's only word, the only lesson left to learn, the only end of heaven's work, and the only road that goes there. Love that sees with mercy's eyes, holds its arms out open wide, threads its loom with separate lives, and weaves them all together. Love that sees with mercy's eyes, holds its arms out open wide, threads its loom with separate lines, and weaves us all together. So may the lamps of stables glow brightly, that their light may go for miles in the darkness so. Love will find its way.
Well, it's time, my friends. Time to find a comfortable position in your chair. Time to breathe in the love and the peace of this moment. To come away from the busyness of this season and to pause. Just pause and breathe deeply the love that will find its way here. So together we breathe deeply in and out. And we feel the peace of this moment. This Kairos time is a gift of the present, a gift of our breathing together. And we can come to this moment anytime, any place. So take this gift with you. And when you breathe deeply, let that love connect you to all who surround us with peace.
Good morning. From Isaiah, do not cling to events of the past or dwell on what happened long ago. Watch for the new thing I'm going to do. It is happening already. You can see it now. I will make a road through the wilderness and give you streams of water there. And from Luke, as he was now approaching the path down from the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to praise God joyfully with a loud voice for all the deeds of power they had seen, saying, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in the highest heaven." Some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, order your disciples to stop." And he answered, "I tell you, if they were silent, the stones would shout out."
When I was a boy, each week, Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything a miracle. Why? Water is not so small that it even magic trick said anything is here at all. So challenging thing become not to look for miracles, finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, I barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Questioning child's faith, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. Made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Y'all are going to die. I just stopped crying. I'm laughing so hard. I'm trying not to start back again because, oh my God. Okay. So, I'm at the Wawa, and I had just been surfing on Facebook because I was trying to, on Friday, my children get to watch a video, like a movie after school, and they get to eat ice cream, and so I picked them up late. And so I was trying to burn some time at the Wawa, and I read a little article. It was like a Christmas article about how everybody's so generous over the holidays, and it makes everything so magical. And so, y'all, I was just in this place. Hold on a second. Gosh, I'm about to die. Y'all are gonna... I can't even contain myself. Hold on, I'm so sorry. I was, hey, Mama, you're gonna die. Oh, gosh. Okay, I gotta stop. All right, so I'm in line at the Wawa, and this lady behind me is buying her ginger ale, and I realize all she has is ginger ale, and so I'm like, oh, I'm feeling the holiday spirit. Hey, Michelle, how are you? I'm gonna buy this woman her ginger ale. And so I'm like, are you only buying ginger ale? And she's like, yes, why? I was like, I've got you. I'm gonna get your ginger ale. And she's like, why? I said, well, because I'm just feeling the holiday magic, you know, and I can't afford to buy people Starbucks like all of those givers do, because those drinks are like $7 or $8. I can buy myself some Starbucks, but not everybody else some Starbucks. So she laughed, and I bought her ginger ale, and I was like, happy holidays. And we, like, you know, it was a precious moment. So I walk outside, and I'm still in this mindset that the holidays are so magical. And I see this man. He is... I'm sorry. Okay, I see this man. He's cleaning my windshield. I'm convinced this is a Christmas am like, this is my favorite part of humanity. I love Christmas so much. Thank you for doing this. And I give him a hug. It wasn't my car. He was parked directly in front of me. And he was cleaning his own windshield. I loved Christmas and humanity. And I gave him a hug. Anyways, I just share this with y'all because I'm out here hugging strangers at the gas station because the magic of Christmas is so powerful.
Oh. Well, for one thing, it's just amazing. It's so wonderful to see someone who can't stop laughing. But also, what she tries to do is just so much fun to think about how many opportunities we have to sort of connect with people, even if it's with the wrong thing in mind, even if it's, if we're confused. And I want to quickly think with you just a couple of quick thoughts because we've got a couple of more songs with Peter, and I want to have time for that. That we've been talking about joy and how we find joy. And so I want to suggest sort of three things very quickly, 3 points. I'm going to do something that most preachers don't do anymore, very often at least. And I'm looking over here at Jane Wisdom and Mary Ellen and and Charm preachers. And we've all grown up and were raised in seminary on the 3-point sermon and then immediately threw it out the door. Here's 3 points. The first point is life is impermanent. We know that. We know that. We've been talking about that. We understand that. We realize that that's kind of the ground that connects us all is our own mortality. But life is impermanent. Things are impermanent. Things don't turn out the way we want. We would like things to be A, B, C. We kind of grow up with this conventional style of learning. We grow up with this conventional style of wisdom where A plus B equals C, where there's a beginning, middle, and end to all stories. And our stories have beginnings, middles, and ends. And they're supposed to follow along a certain sequence. But as we've shared before in here, we all know that we have more twisted routes on our paths than straight routes. And so learning to let go of things is a challenge because we have what some would call in sort of meditative circles and mindfulness circles would call the monkey mind. We have this chattering mind that keeps wanting to see things a certain way, and we can't let go. That's a challenge for us to learn to let go. And it's interesting because the very story of Christmas is really a story about letting go. Now, in its most mythical sense, maybe it's this story of God letting go of his son, but in a more realistic sort of sense here and now in the 21st century, what is happening is life itself is now becoming sacred. We're now aware that all of life is sacred. It's always been sacred, and Jesus is the representation of that. Jesus is the incarnation, the representation of all of life being sacred. So it's hard to experience that sacredness because of the challenge of letting go. Some of you might remember this little parable about the hunters that went out and how they would trap monkeys, and they would take a coconut shell, cut it in half, the coconut, and then they would empty out the half shell, and they would cut a hole just big enough for the monkey to stick its hand through, right? But once it would grab whatever's in there, the bait, it couldn't get out because the hole was too big for the fist. Not too big to squeeze your hand through, too big for the fist that's holding on. And so they would trap monkeys that way. They would nail it down or fix it down to the ground. Monkey would try to grab it and then stuck because it couldn't let go. It was trying to pull out what it had taken. And that's so true for our lives. It's so true for how we deal with things, how we deal with one another. At Christmas time, when we get together with family, if I had to give you 3 rules, these rules apply for family. If you're going to find yourself with that person on the opposite side of the political spectrum, on the opposite side of the impeachment trials, on the opposite side of the religious spectrum, on the opposite side of the LGBTQ spectrum, you're going to find that, right? We all have these in our family. My family's here, so I'm not going to talk about them. But because they know I do. So, but you can read about them if you want to go online and read my blog. But anyway, so I would never have another family either, because you realize that we're not here to cling to things. We're here to connect to things. And clinging prevents us from connecting. In the midst of our own pain, we cling to our pain. In the midst of our brokenness, we cling to our brokenness. In the midst of fears and threats, we cling to fears and threats. And they're real. It's all real. There's no reason why we shouldn't feel these things. But there is also this giftedness of the holy now, this giftedness of the incarnation, the presence of God in all things, that before we can sometimes really experience it, we just have to let go. And that's the challenge. Being mindful enough to let go, being vulnerable and brave enough to let go and to be present. The second thing is to be an investigative journalist. So, an investigative journalist is objective. They approach everything with a curious mind and a curious eye for perception. In the words of Michael Leunig, one of my favorite artists and poets, he's got wonderful books out there, Leunig does. He says this. It's on my screensaver here. Sometimes the only thing to do is to start looking at everything again until you forget. Here we go. Until you forget what you're supposed to see and you start to actually see what is there. Sometimes it requires that we look at something and we look at it and we look at it and we keep looking at it until we start to realize there's something else there and we see what's really there. That's the way I think we sometimes have to deal with our pains. That's the way I think we have to sometimes deal with those who disagree with us, or with those with whom we are displeased, or with our moments or our situation, whatever we find ourselves, we have to learn to be willing to look at it, to sit with it, to not judge it, but to look and to look again until we start to realize what's really there. Because at the depth of my being, what I most deeply believe is that all of life is sacred, that everything is holy. And it's only a matter of learning to let go and to pay attention when we begin to experience these fun, crazy, strange moments in life. So the second thing, be curious. When I was a kid growing up, one of my favorite things to do was to go to the Christmas pageant. The story of the birth of Jesus. What I never understood was when the preacher would say that Mary and Joseph were going to be married because he did not know her. And I'd ask my mom, I'd say, well, how is it that he didn't know her? She's standing right there. These strange things would come up. These wise men would come up, and I'd wonder, what about these guys? What's so wise about these guys? How did the angels get there? Why were they there? You'd ask all these questions. When I go in on Christmas Eve service, and there were the lists of people who had died during service, and it was always up on the wall at the old Episcopal Church. It was all the people over the years that had died during the service, and I asked my mom, which service was it? Was it the early one or the late one? There's so much to be curious about in life, so much to sort of trip us up and to have fun with. But we have to learn to be investigative. We have to learn to be curious again. We have to be willing to let go. One of my favorite little Zen stories, and I'll tell it because some of you probably haven't heard it. Many of you have. It's one of your favorites, you've told me. There was a farmer who had a horse, and the horse ran off one day, disappeared. All the neighbors came around, and they said to him, "This is terrible. You must be really upset." But the farmer just looked at them for a moment and smiled and said, "Who can say? It may be good, it may be bad. We'll have to see." Well, the next day or two, the horse came back, and this time it came back with a stallion, a beautiful black stallion, and the horse was just amazing, and all the neighbors were gathering around again and said, "Well, what luck for you? What good fortune for you? I mean, look who gets an extra horse, and not just an extra horse, you've got a stallion. This is amazing. Aren't you happy?" And he says, "I don't know. I don't know. Who's to say? I mean, it could be good, it could be bad. We'll have to wait and see." And then a few days later, his son is out there trying to help him break the horse. And he's thrown from the horse and breaks his leg in 2 places. And the son is laid up and can't hardly move. And the neighbors come around and say, "This is terrible. This is awful. Your horse that broke your son's leg, you must feel terrible about this." And he says, I don't know. Could be bad. It could be good. Who's to say? About 3 weeks later, the neighboring countries declare war on this farmer's land, his country, and all the young men are conscripted, except, of course, for the farmer's son. And when they come to the farmer's son, they're angry and they're bitter. And they said, "You must feel really proud because your son doesn't have to go while ours go." And he just smiled and he said, "Who's to say? Might be good, might be bad. We just have to see." There's something about accepting impermanence, about living into impermanence courageously, bravely at first, to realize it's the way of life. It's the way of incarnation. It's the way we begin to experience the depth of life and the connectedness. If you look at trees, you realize what's going on above the trees is not half as exciting as what's happening down underneath the trees. Because underneath the trees, they're all communicating. They're all connecting with one another, with all of life, with the grass, with the soil, with other tree roots. There's this base note, as Rob Bell calls it, this base note that's at the depth of our being, that when we can begin to let go of things, when we begin to loosen our grip and live bravely into the moment with more curiosity, when we begin to do that, we begin to discover something at the very depth of all of our beings, that in fact it's the one thing we all share together, this depth of impermanence and possibility, always hand in hand. I'll give you point 3 in just a second.
Well, this song is called "What If Love." What if love? We're the source of everything, and there's a little part for you on it if you so choose to sing along. I'll teach it to you. So the chorus is such that I sing. Let's see. What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? Like that. And I would like to invite you to echo the first 2 lines. So what if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? And sing together that line. So what if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? Again, what if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? There you go. That's all we need to know. Let's sing together. Science has revealed at last what happened in the distant past, back in the beginning of time. But from what the cosmos came, back before the great Big Bang, it's finding more hard to describe. Could be anybody's guess. So is it crazy to suggest? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? What if that love still blazing in the light and dark, hiding in the smallest part, burning like a flame that always burns, like the atoms, like the air, invisible, but everywhere. What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? What if love were the organizing force by which the beauty of the world emerged? That join the particles into molecules and living cells and redwood trees and bees and birds. What if to act on love's behalf, to practice kindness, was the most natural thing of all? Then when we feel undone, or sick because we've been spun around on the wheel of despair, we can just breathe it in, reach for that source again, reach out to what's already there. The mystery from whence we came, just for a song, give it a name. What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was? What if love? What if love? What if love? What if love is all it was?
So I had asked them to do this song. It's not on your list, but I'd asked Peter at the beginning to do this one. The band didn't really know it or have charts, and yet there they go.
Still don't.
They just jump right in and did it. Because point number 3, what if love is all that it is? You know, I got to thinking, if an alien came and investigated the earth and saw us walking around with our dogs, you know what they would conclude? They would conclude that dogs are the leaders. And they pull people behind them who carry their bags of feces with them. Because that's what it looks like, right? But if love is all there is, if love is what it is, and if, as Peter was singing, if the most natural thing to participate in love is like our crazy lady in the video, to simply show acts of kindness in every moment, curious engagement in every moment, letting go of the anxieties, even though we know they're real, even though we know they're present, but leaning into life in order to let life love us. What if love is what there is? And the most amazing thing we can do is to engage with it in the simplest and most most numerous ways in every place we find ourselves. So number 1, just learn to let it go. Number 2, stay incredibly curious. Let curiosity be what drives you and not your anger or whatever you cling to. Let it be curiosity, even if it means curious about your own pain. And number 3, let it be love, because love is all there is. That's what's at the very heart of our being and sustains us. So our benediction today is going to be this wonderful song. Some of you know that when I say happy birthday, Peter taught me about this in terms of perspective and in terms of seeing our relationship to things. We're part of a tiny spot in the middle of a deep, dark universe, and we circle around a little golden globe, every 365, sometimes 366 days a year, And to realize that is to recognize the time we have and what we can do with each of those moments. So if it's your birthday, I often say, happy birthday, and here's to the next trip around the sun. because it's a great way of remembering who we are in relationship to life in itself. So this will be our benediction. Hope to see you all next week on December 22nd. Peter.
We have been weighed down by sadness like a stone. We have yearned, we have yearned. We have sometimes felt so utterly alone. Why we turn, why we turn. We've been stricken by the wonder of it all. Stricken down, stricken down. We have sometimes felt so faint we want to fall. Overcome, all alone. Say this year and night together has been fun. What say we make one more circle around the sun? We have raised our fists in anger and we've tried to work it out, work it out. That we need each other, we cannot deny. There's no doubt, there's no doubt. Let us breathe another dream in outer space. While we're turning, while we're turning on this planet home that holds our human race. We still are learning all along. Say this year and night together has been fun. What say we make one more circle around the sun? Say this year and night together has been a good, good one. What say we make one more circle, one more circle, one more circle around. The sun. Thanks so much. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas.
So you all hang around and visit if you like for a moment. Peter will be in the back. He has some CDs too if you were interested in that. Forgot to mention that. So hang around there and he'll be in the back waiting to greet you. Thank you all very much. See you next week or have a Merry Christmas.